Okay, so hello, everybody. Good afternoon, and you're welcome to this session in Africa Comes Week on understanding the pathways to career growth, right? So again, welcome, bienvenue to those who are French speakers. And today I will be speaking with our very special guest. I'll introduce her shortly. But first of all, my name is Onyekachi. I'm the director for IE University, covering the West Africa region. So I do recruitment and business development for IE in West Africa, and I'm based out of Lagos. And, this afternoon, I have a very special lady who wears many hats. So I'm just going to read out some of the things she does. I mean, I went to her LinkedIn and I saw like 9 long things. I was like, okay, fine. So anyway, I just picked out 4, which would be like a nice summary of everything, but she's also going to introduce herself further. So let me start. She's an entrepreneur. She's the chief comms consultant for her company, Comms Avenue, and she'll tell us a bit more about that. She's also a communications advisor, personal branding expert. She's currently a student at IE, my school, and she'll soon be an alum as well. She's currently studying the Master in Marketing and Corporate Communications at IE. And finally, last year, she wrote a book. She authored her first book, From Clueless to Success. And she'll also explain that as well, because that has a lot to do with her journey. So welcome, Adedoyin. And thank you for joining
so much, Thank you for having me
this afternoon. Perfect. So everybody, just before we go right into the session, just a few well, not rules per se, but just a bit to guide us. If you have any questions, please put it in the Q&A box so that it's easy for us to pull out your questions and address. Please feel very free to interact with us using the chat box. If you have comments and all of that, this is a very interactive session, so just feel very free. The final part is that I have a QR code, which I would like everybody to please scan and fill in the information in the form. Basically, this allows us to get in touch with you, share the video for this session, as well as the masterclass that we had yesterday on data-driven marketing, which I think was very insightful, and it will give you the opportunity to, watch that video. So please scan this code. Later on in the comment section, I will put the link as well. So if you can't scan the QR, I can put the link and then you can fill the form so that we can get in touch with you. Perfect. So now let's get directly into the session. So Adedoyin, I'd like you to introduce yourself, because I've said you have very many hats, but just go through it for us, because we want to highlight here possibilities in comms in terms of career, why people would choose, how they can make their choice, especially not just making a choice and sitting in the same position, but how do you grow, and then how do you have an impact? Because what we are doing here in ACW is about changing perceptions in Africa through communication. So it means that whatever you're doing in comms has got to have an impact. So how do you have that impact? How do you cross over from having that goal in your head to now actually actualizing, those goals? So just run us through your career path. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll try to do this as quickly as possible. So like you said, I wear many hats, but majorly I usually say it falls under communications and then the ministry side of it. Now comms, I stumbled into comms rather cluelessly. And that's what my book is about. That's inspired the title. And it just started with a conversation on what do you want to do with your life? I didn't have an answer, but I knew I had this skill and gift to write. And that's what I said to the person, like, all I know how to do is to write. I don't know what I can make of it. And that started a journey to being an intern. And then I I started learning. Now, one of the things about me is that I'm very inquisitive. So while I started my internship, I started noticing that they were doing social media, there was content creation, there was PR. At the time, I had no idea what PR was. And part of my deliverables, I then got promoted when I moved from being an intern to being a staff writer to being the team lead of the magazine. I then got promoted. And what would happen is the PR, because it was still a small company at the time, the PR arm of it, they would need to write a press release for the magazine. And somehow I would get queried that the press release was not released on time when it was the people that they couldn't do it because they were busy. So I said, you know what, is it not just to write? Show me, what is this press release about? And they will show me, I would draft it, they would vet it and send it off to the boss. Same thing with social media. And then I started to pick up all of these skills along the way. Now, when I got tired of that job, quote and unquote, because I just felt like there's so many sides to me that wasn't being expressed, went off for NYC, came back, and I was offered the role of brand communications manager, which was the first time I was going to ever hear of brand communications. By the time I checked the things that I needed to do, my JD, which I saw on my first day of work, I only knew 4 things: writing, creating content for social media. And I thought, okay, I have strong research skills, and that's something that every comms professional should have. I know that I can research and find information. So I said, okay, I'm going to do this role. And it was about church communication. So I started learning. There's so many resources on Google about church communications. And from there, that's when I really started to know about communications as a discipline and how there's so many umbrellas to it. So there's strategy, there's, the creative thinking, there's the execution, there's PR, there's media relations. And then after that, I started my own brand communications agency. And that really allowed me to swim widely, because I then worked with different clients from different industries. One day it's mining, the next is real estate, it's banking and finance. I think I did somebody in fashion. And you see how it comes, but you have to learn about that industry, which is why I spoke about research and diversity and being versatile. You have to be able to think, okay, so this is a brief about banking and finance. What do I need to know about this industry? What do I need to know about these clients? And that diversity really, really helped me in the course of my career. So I did that for 3 years, shut down the business in 2019. And before I shut it down, I started having this nudging. I started working with more development, philanthropic organizations, and I just saw a gap. There was a communication problem. I remember going for a conference in South Africa, and participants from maybe like Burundi or Mozambique, they're talking about things they're doing. And people are also doing it in Nigeria and Ghana, but they do not know that they exist. And I just sat there and was like, what if these people knew that they existed? How much more would they be able to do if they work together? But they don't even know even the people in Burundi themselves, if you Google them, there's no footprint. So I said, okay, let me try and help these people, because I saw a bigger gap. Corporate brings great money, right? But I saw more potential for impact in that space. And then I started working more with development organizations, NGOs, just saying, look, you need to communicate. This is what you need to do. These are the templates. And then I also got involved with the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, which is a leading think tank in Nigeria that deals with public policy. And I just sat there listening to conversations from the public sector, and they will say something, and people were like, oh, our government does this. I was like, so why is our government not communicating these things? Why is this information not available? And then I said, you know what? There's a gap I need to fill here. So right now, I'm in that space where I want to really use my skills to impact public sector, and especially Africa. We talk a lot, and which is something we've been talking a lot, especially in this Africa Comms Week. I was in a panel yesterday that they were also talking about this same thing, how the stories, they're not being told by us. Who is going to tell the stories? The comms people. So the comms people need to be trained. How do you creatively tell the stories in an attractive, authentic way? So I'm doing a lot of training, which I'm going to tie that now into the Comms Avenue, because the Comms Avenue is a capacity building platform for communications professionals. And what I try to get the professionals to do is think beyond the money, think impact. You have a very beautiful skill that everybody needs. Everybody is going to need to tell a story. Everybody is going to need to write. Everyone, right now I'm in school, but I still have clients saying, Adedoyin, please, I need you to help me with my comms. I need you to help me with senior executives, for example. Oh, we have this thing we want you to work on. It's a needed skill, but the thing is, if you're not diverse, if you don't think outside the box, if you're not developing yourself, then you're not going to make the most of it. So that's it in a nutshell.
Very, very, very wide but great nutshell. I really like, and there are several things that you highlighted. You talked about research, not just researching for the industry that you're consulting for incomes, but also even researching to understand what you're doing in comms, which I think is very important. And as this is like a career focused workshop or session, I think people also need to pay attention to that. Research, gather information. The second thing that you said is that it wasn't like you knew, oh, you want to just cross over and start doing training. It was that you saw an opportunity. And I think that's where the entrepreneurial mindset also comes in, for people. And so for people who are thinking, okay, I'm in comms, but what is the next step? What is the business? Or is there really an opportunity? I've never done comms before. What I'm hearing is that you saw a gap, and you saw that gap because you had done something in the past before, and then you could see a connection between two different groups and you could bridge that gap. And so people too, I think, should also be open and a bit sensitive to their environment and the experiences that they have and how to connect those different experiences. So I like that. Now, so your focus now in comms is what exactly? So you have now narrowed it from being broad, doing brand and all of that, to what exactly? What exactly do you now focus on? And how does that tie to, let me say, how does that tie to a career goal that you have or that you set for yourself? And can you share your career goal with us? Would you be open to sharing?
I can do that.
Good. So how does that tie to your career goal so that we can see, how those progressions happen?
Okay. So because I started out cluelessly, my initial career goal was don't fail, just succeed, hack this thing. And then as I grew, so when I had the business, the goal was, okay, make money, get more clients. Now, when I started to have that nudging of, I want to use my skill more impactfully, my goal started becoming what role, what position will allow me to make the most impact. And I thought about, okay, maybe be a special advisor with some government or work in a multilateral organization, which is now my current focus and my goal. And that's on one hand. And then on the second hand is, so there are these gaps and these needs. How can I use my skills, incomes, the experience that I've had to be able to teach other professionals and even create a platform for them to be able to grow? Now, in setting these goals, I then had to ask myself, what are the gaps? Public policy, I have no idea. Literally, all of this started in 2019. I did an internship. I had to do an internship with the NESG for 6 months just to even know what is this public policy stuff all about. I also knew, because I didn't study communications or anything related in my undergrad, I studied law. I also, one of the other things that I did maybe in 2018 was that I went on LinkedIn and I started to look for roles, director of communications, chief communications officer, because I said to myself, I'm running this business. And when you run a business, especially in Nigeria, sometimes you're tempted to say, should I not just go and get a job? Because, so it was at that point, and I said, what kind of job? If I was going to go back to 9 to 5, what kind of role? And I knew that I wanted to be a director of comms or chief comms officer. So I went on LinkedIn, looked at the people with that title, and then looked at job descriptions with that same title and looked at the gaps. What do I currently have and do really well? What don't I have? And I noticed a thread. They all had a degree in media, comms, PR, and it stated there are some high-level roles you cannot get if you don't have at least maybe a bachelor's or a master's. So I was like, okay, I need to get some sort of certification or education. Master's was even a bit out of my radar because I just thought I didn't have enough money. So I started to look for certifications online. I did the whole, you do the Coursera. I think I found one in Dubai. And then by some divine intervention at the end of 2017, IE just started flashing. And I go to the website and I see masters in corporate and marketing communications. But then I check the school fees. I'm like, for that Lord, I just click cancel. But then a series of events, conversations that seemed very random. And then one person finally said to me in 2018, summer, August, I can never forget. She was like, if you feel this is something that you want to do and God is leading you to do, how about you apply? And then leave the rest, to God to figure out. And I said, okay, aside from the application fee, it's not going to cost me much to apply. So I applied and I got my admission in October of 2018. It was then the race of, okay, how am I going to raise this money? Next year, maybe it was about March or April, the IE and ACW did the first ever Africa We Want, Communicating Africa Challenge, 50% scholarship to the winner to start that year, first time. If this was not a sign from God, I did not know. I literally did a screenshot of that email, sent it to my friends. I said, guys, I am the winner. I don't care what these people have in mind, but I am the winner. And, I did my page, I put the proposal together. And in June, I was announced the winner and I got a 50% scholarship, which has allowed me to do this program. And it has really, really helped me in terms of the value that it has added to my career goals. First of all, giving me more confidence. Because, sometimes you do things, because I was winging it, I was just learning from people, learning from YouTube. So I was confident, but now the confidence now should have partly say, do you know who I am? I graduate. But aside from that, jokes apart, is world-class education. The best practice, the tools, even the things. So, for example, we have a media relations course this year, and press release writing was one of our assignments. Now, I've written tons of press releases, but by the time my teacher broke down how a press release should be written, I said, Adedoyin, what have you really been writing all these years? So it's just you get improvement, and that has now really helped me with my career goals. So that I believe that my next step from here would be to work with a multilateral organization, a very senior level. And I have the confidence now to say, look, I have the experience and I now have the professional education. Bring that together for me is like, and then I can now exponentially ask for more money as well. That's critical. So yeah, that's it.
So, highlights of what she said, there is clearly an importance of realizing the requirements for, would I say, getting to the next level in your overall career goal path. So upskilling might be it, or even reskilling, right? It seems like those are things that people need to consider. And I like how you also broke it down to say, okay, maybe a short course, but then what you've seen with most of all the people whose profiles you checked had to be like masters or having an actual degree. And I think people also need to be aware of the difference, I guess, between doing, say, a short course and having a degree in a program. Both of them give you exposure to probably new skills or information and things like that. But a short course is like a bridge. It's a stopgap, sort of, where you go for a few weeks or a few months or whatever, and then you learn the surface, but you don't go as in-depth, right? So the knowledge from that short course may not carry you over in all aspects of would I say, whatever role you're doing, but it just gives you an insight. While having an actual degree gives you the opportunity to practice, even while doing the program, exposes you to different lines of thoughts from the professor, thoughts from your classmates, and then you get to practice at the same time. Whether you're doing a part-time program so you can work and go to school, or even if you're doing a full-time program, then you have projects and things so that live you're practicing. And because it's a lot longer, you're able to actually immerse yourself in the study of that field and then gain the knowledge you need to apply. So just to put it out there, difference between doing a short course and a long or a degree program. So another thing you said was the ACWIE scholarship, which I would just announce we're going to run again. So if you are interested, again, yes, we're just discussing it. So yes, we will run it again. We will run it again for all our communications programs, not just the one that Adedoyin is doing, but across all our communications programs. And, once you share your details with us, as I put with the QR code there, then we'll be able to share more information with you as time goes on. Now, I actually so I will give this example and I need your thoughts on it. So I have a friend who has a background that is in social sciences. And he spent years doing audits, financial advisory and things like that. And so now after 12, 13 years of work experience, he says, he wants to move into a career in comms. And, so he was asking me for advice since I already coach people on personal development and stuff like that. And my suggestion to him was, you might have to reskill, probably do a course or something, but also join relevant associations that can probably give you certifications or give you networks and all. What are your thoughts on it? So just like him, you've been a professional, you're a professional, you've worked for several years, or you're just starting off. How do you now cross over into comms? Is it like what I suggested with my friends, or what would you suggest for such a person?
Yes, so definitely I agree the reskilling. And you first need to weigh, what am I good at? Now, if you're not very good at writing, there will be an issue, because comms is like, writing is a very core part of comms. So you need to ask yourself, what are the key things I need to succeed in this career? You know, I need to be able to write. Media, being able to talk to people. You have comms people that are behind the scene, but the writing part, being able to understand digital media is going to be very important for you. So you then have to list it. What are my strong parts? And then research as well. I always add research. It's always very important. And then what am I not good at? So you can't say I'm completely averse to social media, but I want to go into comms. It's not going to work in this day and age. So once you're very clear on, okay, this is the path I want to go on, these are my strong skills, these are the gaps, get the skills, the education. Now you can join bodies to get certifications. Those are very great. But one of the things that is very peculiar about comms is that it's more about your results and experiences. And through the comms avenue, when I coach people, I always say to them, find ways to get your hand in work, internship, volunteering, because that's what people look at, even more than the certification, because you have people with certification and degrees, and you tell them, write me something, and it's like, but you learn, you improve your writing by doing more. So as you're gaining these skills, make sure that you're finding places where you can practice social media content creation. If you want to add community management, if you want to do IMC, for example, if you want to do stakeholder, whatever it is, make sure that you are actually practicing, so that when you get your foot in the door, what you're learning, you're then implementing it, because it needs to go hand in hand. And that's one of the things that I would tell people. And you can join a community, the Comms Avenue, or a community of people that some people are maybe 1 year out of school with people over 12 years of experience in the industry, and they just rub off ideas. Oh, I'm thinking of doing this. What opportunities available? You know, what should I learn? What materials and resources? But you have to be very, very self-motivated. It is possible. Comms is a very, very flexible area to transition into, but you just need to be very deliberate and know what it is that you want to get out of it.
Perfect. I completely agree. So now we've talked about, upskilling, learning, getting your hands dirty. But so let me phrase it this way. You have a career goal, right? Which, you put out there and you're aiming towards it. But how are you supporting that? Do you have on the side or at parallel a personal development goal as well? Did you have that? Do you currently have that? Is that something that you think is important for people to have? Because so far, a lot of the points that you've raised, which have been very valid, have had to do with identifying, what you need, identifying why you want to do what you want to do, where you want to head into. And sometimes you might not be able to identify it off the bat, which is why you get your hands into things and then ultimately you do. But would you say right off the start, someone should have their personal development goal, or should they develop it as they go along? And then how do they tie that up with the career goal? What would you suggest? What do you think?
I think that it's very complementary. So like my personal development goal, I'm always learning, whether it's about comms or it's not about comms. You need to have information. How are you getting information? How are you, whether it's reading the news, whether it's just staying in touch with what's happening, and how are you developing your other skills? Because your personal development goals in one way or the other help you in your career. And for me personally, that's been my experience. The fact that I'm able to read widely and understand concepts and things in a broad range of things helps me in the work that I do. I recently just did some work with somebody in energy, and she was so surprised that I knew what she said. Yeah, because I read some articles a few months ago. I had this conversation with somebody, and I like listening to people talk about the work they do. I may not understand what they're talking about, but then I realized a few months down the line, I can recollect those things that they've said, and then it becomes useful. So I believe that the personal development goal is very important, and it's not a static thing, because we evolve as human beings. So as you evolve, your personal development goals need to evolve, just as your career goals might also evolve. But at the very least is be committed to learning, round the clock learning from those ahead of you, learning from your peers, learning from those behind. And also what I also do is, even in my environment, I try to say, okay, let's use, for example, I go out and I see a billboard and say, this is nice. What makes this nice? I like this copy. Why is this copy nice? How can I, do this better? That's me stretching myself, because I'm thinking, or if I'm watching a conversation online and I'm like, this is nice. What implication does this have with XYZ? And personal development doesn't also have to be so many serious things. It can just be, okay, learn something outside your field of interest. Because now the world has opened up to, you can learn anything, basically. Schools are offering different short courses on different topics, leadership, whatever it is. Just go and learn it, because you never know. Leadership, for example, is so important. If you want to rise to the top of your career, you're going to need to understand leadership and executive presence. So I think that having that mindset that it all goes hand in hand would be very good.
Perfect. So let's just answer this question from Belinda. Belinda is asking, she's saying, I am an intern right now. What more can I do on the side to add to my skills? What would you advise a newbie in the industry to do to stand out?
Okay, so I'm going to push for my experience as an intern. What I did was I was inquisitive. I just did not do the bare minimum. So I had my deliverables. I think my deliverable at the time was to write 5 stories on the website that the company had. But then I would ask my colleagues that were, doing more. And I think I did more lifestyle entertainment stories, which was not even my strongest point. My colleagues were writing the heavy critical things that I thought I should be doing, but I didn't have the capacity. So I would ask them, so how did you develop this skill? Teach me, what resources? So they would send books. I remember my editor at the time, she would send me materials to read. I would also get feedback. So if, for example, I did a story and she didn't post it, or she made so many changes, I would ask her, you canceled this sentence. Why? Why wasn't it good enough? Because feedback is very important. And I like and I still respect my first editor. She took the time to explain to me, because I would ask her. Sometimes she would send to me and say, do you notice the difference between what I sent to you and what you did? Do you understand why I made those changes? So those things were helping me to distinguish myself. And then getting involved with what's happening in the other areas, so that when they needed to fill a gap, I was always there, because I knew it. I had talked to my colleagues. They had shown me how to do it. So it was very, very easy for me to learn. So be open to opportunities. Opportunities are all around you, even as an intern. Who can quickly do this? Who can help us to do this? Volunteer, even if you don't feel you have 100%, just say, okay, I don't mind doing it, but if you can just show me. And me personally, I know that there's nothing I cannot learn. That's my mindset. So as long as somebody can just show me the ropes, and even if you don't show me the ropes, Google is there. I will Google it or call a friend. I know that I'll figure it out. So don't be afraid to go for the opportunities that seem quote and unquote bigger than you, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. You're just starting out. You will make me. I have made serious. I mean, if you get my book, I've made serious mistakes, but it's not the end of the world. So push yourself out of your comfort zone. Look out for opportunities. Look out for opportunities to learn. The senior creative people or whatever organization you work with, just shadow them, ask them questions, tell them to show you things, and I believe that would really help you stand out.
Great. So something that I've picked out of what you said is, apart from the outside, and when I say the outside, things on the outside, skills, work experience, so on and so forth, I think the inside is also very important, because what you've highlighted now is your attitude, your willingness to learn, your openness to learn, the drive that you have inside of you to push and to try things. So that courage to go for something, even if it seems like it's beyond you. And I think people need to also keep that in mind. We highlight a lot of things like soft skills, hard skills, so on and so forth. But you must also understand that your mind plays a big part in your, would I say, your career journey and your career success. So please, let's keep that in mind. So I want you to tell us a bit about your book. Why you wrote the book, what the book is supposed to help us know or learn, or what kind of insight we can draw from your book. from clueless to success? Just take us through it.
Okay. I think I got to a point in my career where I was working on high level projects and people be like, oh my God, I want to be like you. Almost like Belinda that just said, I'm just an intern. Nobody's noticing me. And I was like, I was like you one day. I didn't know what I was doing, and I got so many, and it seems like she's just trying to be humble. And it's like, I'm not trying to be humble. That's the reality of my life. I literally just found my way through it, was inquisitive, made mistakes, terrible mistakes. Sometimes I didn't even know what I was doing. So I just said, you know what? Let me do this book. Even when the title came from Clueless to Success, I just thought it was very aspire to perspire. But I was like, well, that's the reality of my story. I was really, really clueless. But somehow I then made it to still making it on this journey of success because I don't have everything figured out. So the book really chronicles how I started, the different phases of my journey, the mistakes that I've made, and the lessons, because I reflected. So there's Adedoyin nuggets at the end, and I reflected on things I would have done better. And it's just to show people that, look, there's no perfect story. Your story is very unique. You're not going to have Adedoyin's path. That's just the truth. You're going to have your path, but you must be confident enough to know that I have the capacity to do this. There's nothing anybody can tell me in this life. I know how to write. There's some things I don't dispute with people. Yes, I may one day write something that may not be as brilliant as I would like, but that doesn't mean I'm not gifted at writing. So there's that part of being self-confident and this is my ability, and taking ownership of, okay, I made a mistake here. Why did I make this mistake? What do I need to put in place to make sure I don't need to make this mistake? And that's what I'm hoping that people get out of the book, is to say, look, your journey is authentic to you. Figure out how you want to. And it's okay if you don't even know where you're going to next. Like I just said, my goal, public sector, multilateral organization, I don't really know how I'm going to get there. Maybe tomorrow now you hear I've been appointed special advisor, but right now, I don't know. But it is a goal. And I know that I'm going to be talking to people about it. Even so we have career advisory at IE. I had my career session and I told my career advisor, this is what I want to do. She was like, do you have the rights to work in this country? I was like, I don't have the rights to work there. She said, okay, let's see how we can do it. And that's how my journey has been, having conversations, just putting this thing out there. I want to do this, talking to people. And someone says, why don't you look at this website? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Why don't you? And then from there, you keep moving. So don't wallow in that place of, oh, I don't know what to do. Nobody's going to help me. And that's what I hope that people can also take out of the book, that you are in charge of your journey in terms of your career and make the most of it.
Fantastic. So we just have 4 minutes left, or rather 3 minutes left. So what would you say as, a final word to people who are in this journey and, in their careers, but they might be young, just starting off, they might already have been at it for a while and are just maybe at a crossroads and are not sure, and, what would be your word to them? How to move forward? What would be your word?
Okay. My first thing that I always say is do a personal audit. Think about what you would like to be in terms of the ideal. Don't think about where you are now. So if you say, for example, I want to be the creative director of a top agency in Africa, go and find who is in that role right now. What skills do they have? Look at their, if you want to add them, that's nice, but look at their profile. Look at the skills that they're highlighting. Look at their trajectory. Do it for 4 or 5 people. Then ask yourself, what are the steps I need to begin to take now? And begin to take those baby steps. You don't have to think about it so widely, but the little steps that you take every day. Do a short course. Okay, in 1 year, maybe do a master's. Okay, can I volunteer for this organization? Take baby steps and begin to move forward. What paralyzes people that I've seen sometimes is, I always encourage people to shoot their shot, which means that just, pitch yourself. And because what we do a lot as consequences is to pitch brands, and they get discouraged. Oh, I pitched to these agencies, they're not replying, nobody's responding. And I said, we're in a creative world right now that has been disrupted. There are events going on everywhere. Can you reach out to one of the organizers and say, I want to join your comms team. I want to help you to amplify what you are doing on social media. I see that your Instagram the captions could be better written. Can I come and help you do it? Find creative ways to get your foot in the door and get the experience that you need. And then most importantly, please do not be discouraged. When you see people that you admire and you see what they're doing, it's great to admire them, but please do not let that make you discouraged about where you are, because like there's this quote that says, don't compare somebody's chapter 30 with your chapter 1. They have gone through training rigor that you may never really understand or realize. And so know that you have your own path and you have your own process. Know that this journey, there are ups and downs. There will be mistakes. There will be times you feel like, I'm not doing it again. End of discussion. And there's sometimes you're like, high flying career, traveling around the world, but don't get caught up in the glamour of it. There's hard work to be done. But when in those low seasons, please find self-courage and motivation to push through those difficult times, because it is a beautiful journey. It is a journey where you meet people, where you stretch yourself and have good experiences, but be committed to being the best at every level, whether you're being paid or not being paid. I stand by excellence in all things. I believe in it. And if you are excellent, you will show and speak for you when you're not in the room.
Fantastic, fantastic passing words. So thank you, Adedoyin. We have come to the end of this session. I want to say a very big thank you to you. This has been very, very insightful for me, a great reminder to shoot my shots, instead of, just stay on the same spot and just be scared and discouraged. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. ACW still continues. There'll be more sessions today. There'll be 3 sessions tomorrow. So please register and continue to be a part of the conversation. Thank you again, everybody, and have a good day. Please remember to scan the QR code, as I mentioned, and so we'll be able to share information with you. Thank you again, and have a great day.